Hello, hello, everybody.
Hi.
This is a brand new venture for us. Welcome to the first ever episode of Collector's Confessional. I am Josh, also known as the Pirate Novelist.
And I'm Marikan.
And I don't know about you, but I'm really excited to get this going.
I know I'm super excited. It feels like we've been working on this for a long time and
Yes,
it's finally
yes.
here. So I'm
Yay.
glad about that.
I need to apologize to our listeners that I'm coughing. The reason this has been delayed so much is I got hit with the worst luck the past 2 weeks. Um, I got hit with pneumonia, and then I got hit. Before that, I was really sick, so it's been like a nightmare to try and plan this. So, this is a brand new, as of right now, just exclusive to YouTube podcast. If you have any of your apps that will let you listen to it, without having the YouTube app, great. If not, you're just going to see a static image on the screen. Apologize for that if you don't want to see video or anything. We might do something like that in the future, but for right now, it's just easier for us just to sit down and talk via audio.
Yep, agreed.
Agreed.
Maybe
It's
we'll try and advance it in the future, but for now, here we are.
yes. This is going to be a bi-weekly podcast. So every 2 weeks, you're going to get a brand new episode, pending any crazy schedules. But we're making it work now. So the plan is every 2 weeks.
And hopefully school doesn't kill me.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing right now is college is a kicker. I have written 2 essays this week and
hmm
I am very proud that I got them done.
Good on you. Good on you. So this is I don't know where we start with where we're going with our thoughts on this and everything, but this is a I guess a podcast that we wanted to talk about collecting records. Both of our channels are pretty much dedicated to it, and it was just a random conversation that we had that we decided to do this. But I think it's really cool because we're two collectors of crazy stuff, I guess. Different music tastes, kind of similar, but I always like to pick another person's brain when they're collecting. But before we do all that, let's get some intros going of who we
All
are.
right, that sounds good. Yeah.
Uh, how about you go first?
Okay. I'm Marikan. I'm from Kentucky. I've been collecting records for about 5 years now. I collect pretty much everything. I have a little bit of everything in my
Mm-hmm.
collection. My music taste is very vast. So, over the course of this podcast, you'll get to know a lot about me through my music. I am one that listens to music daily.
Mm-hmm.
It's, my passion. It's one of my biggest loves in life. Uh, so, yeah, that's a little bit about me, I guess.
Well, I go by Pirate Novelist, but you all could call me Josh. You're gonna hear me. You're probably just gonna hear me named as Josh during this entire podcast, which is fine. But I am an avid record collector, music collector. I've been collecting CDs for pretty much forever, but I really didn't start majorly collecting until about 7 years ago. I don't know if I've told you this story, but how I basically kind of got into record collecting, but um, I'll go over that in just a minute. But I collect pretty much anything. I listen to any genre of music, to be completely honest. There are some genres that um, don't gel with me too much. For me, I kind of like to think of it this way. There was a recent description for one of my favorite bands, Paramore. They say they're genreless, which I think is kind of interesting to think about. You know, and we could have another conversation on that later. But I listen to pretty much anything. Like you said, I listen to music pretty much every day. It's something that's not passive for me, and it all kind of started about 10, actually 11 years ago when I first heard the band Paramore. And back before that, I was listening to artists here and there. I was listening to stuff I grew up with, like Beach Boys, Doobie Brothers. I still love those, by the way. But I didn't really care who was making the music, who the producer was, who mixed it, who like, all the little pieces of everything. I didn't care about that up until I heard the band Paramore, and that's kind of where the light bulb went off, and I really cared about music. So I had my parents' collection that we've saved forever. Every move I always took over and I said, no, we're not getting rid of these. I'm keeping them. No, we're not getting rid of these. I'm keeping them. And I started out with one of those, and also this This podcast is for adults, so we might use a little bit of swearing. But one of those shitty all-in-one cabinets that like you got at like Kmart that has like a radio and the turntable's on the inside. You lift up the cover. Not exactly a suitcase. It's actually flimsier than a suitcase because that platter can literally just flumble like a piece of paper. To be honest, I don't know why I used it for so long, but it is what it is. But I've been majorly collecting for about 7 or so years, and my overall favorite band, which is Tonight Alive, I had been tweeting the singer at one point, and I had been thinking about expanding my collection, and I just was starting to think, okay, I know there's some stores around me, and this is how I found my favorite store, was that essentially my favorite singer tweeted me that she just got Led Zeppelin 4. Which is a great album. If you do not have it in your collection, shame on you. It's a staple in collections. But I actually have the tweet on my wall because that is the first album I ever bought at my favorite record store. And back then it was just one room, and then the room beside it was a barber shop, which was weird. Not weird, but kind of cool. And the owners expanded to owning the space where the barber shop is and more. So it's been kind of interesting to see how my collection's been growing alongside the record store growing. And what I find interesting is it's a niche hobby, but it's majorly expanding. And the place I go to is kind of tucked away in a corner. And you think, oh, a corner store, where it's not visibly seen too much by, the road. But no, he gets a lot of business there. And it just kind of shows the power of music and the power of everything. So that's a little bit about me. Long-winded, but that's a little bit about me.
Yeah, I agree. Hey, my favorite record store is one in like a little strip mall. I mean, it's right off the road, but like it's next to a Pizza Hut and a pet shop. I mean, you would not expect this tiny little record store to do so well. But I mean, it just has a huge variety, and I always spend too much money there.
Yeah, same here. I'm actually going to be doing an exchange with my close buddy, and right now is when all my bills are due. So we actually delayed because of bills because of the holidays. So I said, do you mind if we're going to exchange 2 records a piece? So I said, do you mind if, because he already told me what he wants, I'm just going to grab them. We don't want to do surprises. We've known each other long enough that it's like, just tell me what you want and I'll buy it.
Oh yeah, I definitely. Me and Jared are always like doing stuff like that. Like, what do you want? What do you want?
Yeah. The 2 that I requested is the new Taylor Swift album, Lover. I love that album. Oh goodness me, I love that album. And Dashboard Confessional is coming out with a self-released like greatest hits, not greatest hits, but like curated from all eras of the band. And it's the only way right now that you could get the song Vindicated on vinyl because they still have not released the Spider-Man 2 soundtrack.
Now, see, I'm not a big Taylor Swift fan. That is one thing that like everyone finds so strange about me is here I am, this little 20-year-old white girl, and I'm not obsessed with Taylor Swift. Which everyone, I guess, kind of hates me for in some way. But I don't know. Some of her stuff just kind of seems generic. Although I have come around to more of her music. I actually heard a song of hers on the radio the other day, and it's off of her newest album for sure because I'd never heard it before, but it was actually pretty decent. I just kind of caught like the last minute or so of it. So, I think she's improving and getting better over time.
Yes.
Definitely no hate to her as a person because, I mean, I think she's a really sweet person. I know she's done a lot for charities and things like that over the years. But I just don't know. I've never really been into her musically, so.
Fair enough. I'm not a judge of that. I've learned as the years have gone on that who am I to judge what you like in music?
Yeah, everybody's taste is totally different.
Now, I will say this. I like her, but I'm not like an uber fan, especially because I did not particularly care for Reputation.
Yeah, I definitely think that is probably like her weakest album. I know everyone was obsessed with that when it came out.
I wasn't actually, to be honest, back when I had my other defunct podcast and that episode got corrupted. it never got released because it sounded like for some reason.
Mhm.
I actually gave it a scathing review, my first ever scathing review. And you've watched my videos, you know how, kind I am to people, even if I don't particularly like it. But
Mhm.
that album was just so bad for me. And nothing against it, it just didn't gel with me. And that's the
Yeah.
main problem I have with it is it wasn't for me, to be honest. But for me, it was her weakest. And Lover, for me, is probably her strongest since I was back in college. And how many years have I been out of college? Close to 7. Red came out when I was in university. So I did community college, and then I also went to university. So have the 2 degrees and everything. So yeah, it was about like halfway through university that came out. So it's been a while since I've actually been like not obsessed, but completely like enjoyed beginning to end one of her albums. So it was a breath of fresh air for me.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people really talked about her album Lover last year, and I probably should have listened to it. But I mean, heck, there's just so much music that,
Oh yeah.
you just
Mm,
can't listen to everything
no, no.
either, so it's
I'm
so
trying to be a
hard.
little more aware right now about some of the albums. I tried to start listening to some of the albums, but then I got sick and I'm like
Yeah, I totally understand. I just finally got around to listening to Halsey's newest album,
mm,
Manic,
mm-hmm.
like 2 days ago.
Yeah.
And it come out the 17th, so I
Yeah.
was a little behind on it, but I was really excited for that release,
Mm-hmm.
and I think she did a really great job on that. I don't know if you listened to Halsey or if you've heard Manic, but I
I
thought
have
that was a
not. It's
really
on
good
my
release.
list.
It's definitely, I don't know, it's probably my favorite of her albums. I'm kind of partial to Badlands
Mm-hmm.
just because it was kind of what made her popular and it was where I found her.
Yeah.
Uh, but I definitely think this one's better, and I have high expectations for her in the future too. So
Yeah.
I'm
Um,
not gonna ruin it for you, but it's really good.
I'll take a listen to it. So far out of the ones that have come out, I've listened to the new Echo Smith, and I have to still listen to Apocalyptica. I started listening to Alexandria Savior just because never heard of her, but I knew that just from kind of the vibe that I read on, oh, I'm using Wikipedia, blah, but the vibe that she gave, I was really
Uh-huh.
liking it, and I listened to one song before I got my pneumonia, and I really liked it. Echo Smith is just okay, to be honest. It actually, I was a little disappointed in it, for me personally, because I had loved the album before, and it was just a little. It sounded generic to me, and I know they put a lot of passion in everything that they do, which is great. But to me, it was just a little too generic. I know I need to listen to. Let's see what else. I want to hear the new Poppy album. I want to check out Selena's new album. What else do I need to listen to? I'll listen to Halsey. That was on my list. Of Montreal came out with something. I need to take a look at that. And then, of course, yesterday, my boys in Breaking Benjamin came out with a new album. I need to go listen to that.
Yeah, I heard they were releasing a new album, and
Hmm.
I have not listened to them in years. When I went through like this really big emo phase, like I feel like
Hmm.
everyone did in middle school and high school,
Hmm.
I was obsessed.
Hmm.
And I feel like I've not listened to them in so long. I
I
really
went and
probably need to
saw
check them out.
them last year with Chevelle, Diamante, and I didn't catch Dorothy's set, but my goodness, one of my favorite artists right now is Diamante. I don't know if I've talked to you about her, but she is a really cool artist. The way I would describe her is a modern day Joan Jett mixed with heart. She
That is
is
interesting.
absolutely fantastic. She's a wonderful human being. I'm on her Facebook group. It's really cool. She truly, truly cares about you. If you love her music and you want to support her, she truly cares about you. She usually does free meet and greets at the end of her sets if she when she can. She actually did her own tour headlining. This was her first tour. I went to one of the shows. Great show, and she had a paid meet and greet. I couldn't make it, unfortunately, because the way she got famous was through the song "Bad Wolves." Hear Me Now. She's featured on that song. So Bad Wolves was in town with 3 Days Grace, and she had toured with 3 Days Grace when I saw them with Breaking Benjamin. So she wanted to go up and sing with them. Well, to make up for it, I can't really say how or why or anything, but I somehow got backstage. I can't go over too much of this. It's got to be kind of hush hush a little bit, the details and everything. But I got to hang out with her before the show and after the show too. She really truly does care about everybody, and she wants to make sure if you were at the show, there was about 20 or so people there. She truly cares if you love her music, and she makes sure to not just spend 30 seconds, at least a full, not like minute or so, but a while with you to get to know you. And, she's just great and wonderful. And she just released a brand new song. It's called Obvious. It came out on the 17th. And she co-wrote it with Neil, who is the drummer of 3 Days Grace. And what's really cool is I had to miss the meet and greet because it happened after work, because she was going to go up and sing with them. And Neil came down after their set and played and premiered the brand new song with her, which is one of my favorite moments of the year.
That's awesome. See, I love when artists can actually like get down on a fan's level and like treat a fan really the way they should be treated. Because if you think about it, your fans get you to where you are.
Yep.
And without your fans, you wouldn't be in your position. And so I hate whenever I hear a band member has been snobby and rude to somebody. Like, that just grinds me the wrong way.
Oh yeah.
So I always love hearing whenever people are super kind and like really get to know their fans and want people to enjoy their music,
Exactly. To continue on with the hype for upcoming albums, the new Green Day album is coming out next month, so I'm going to check that out. The new
I'm very excited about
I am
that
too.
album myself. I've not listened to any of the singles because I've wanted to like save it for the album.
Yeah.
I'm such a big fan of them, so
I've heard the
I'm
first
kind of trying
single.
to savor every moment.
I've only heard the first single. I haven't heard the second, so I'm interested to see where it goes from there. What else? Sepultura is coming out with a new album next month. I'm excited for that. See, the Birds of Prey. The soundtrack's coming out. Let's see. There's a new Huey Lewis and the News album coming out. That's going to be interesting. Nathaniel Radcliffe, Tame Impala. Let's see. Ozzy's new album comes out next month. I'm really excited for that one.
Jared is very excited about that. He cannot stop talking about that.
Did he hear the new single?
I believe so. I have not heard it, but I know he's like very into Ozzy, and so he's probably heard it. And he's working and our schedules are so different, so we hardly get time together the past couple months. And so when we talk about music, it's kind of just like, hey, have you heard, or something kind of similar. But I remember him talking about Ozzy coming out with a new album. So he's hyped that up, but I can't remember if he said he's listened to anything yet.
It's good. I'm excited for it. Of course, I got to do this for the obligatory people that like this band. I've fallen out with them. Five Finger Death Punch. I've not been a fan of theirs for a while, but I did hear one newer song by them and thought, okay, this is not too bad. I might just give it a one listen just because. We also got Soccer Mommy coming out this year. Let's see what else. Mandy Moore is dropping a new album this year. Wow, there's a name I haven't heard in forever.
Wow, yeah.
Joywave, Alicia Keys, Morrissey. People know how he acts.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Morrissey.
Yeah.
I know that probably like breaks everyone's heart.
I'm not too much of a fan either. I like maybe one song. In This Moment is coming out with a new one. And what's interesting is there is a collaboration, I believe, with, let me see here. There's major hype behind this album because Taylor Momsen is supposed to be featured on one of the songs. And I believe it's with Lizzie Hale too. And I think it's a cover of We Will Rock You.
Well, that sounds very exciting.
It is. And I've heard the new song. It's okay. If you're in This Moment, it's them, to be honest. And of course, the big one for this year, Pearl Jam's Gigaton. Very excited for that one.
Yeah, I can't wait for that one either. That one's really exciting too.
This is the one
And
rare time I've actually popped a pre-order on a vinyl record.
I know I hate pre-ordering records because like I never know what I'm gonna think of them because listening to singles, they can be so misleading. You can
Yep.
have really great singles and a really crappy album, or you can have really crappy singles and an overall great album.
Yeah.
And so I hate buying records like and not really enjoying the album except for the few
Yeah.
singles that were released. So
Exactly.
I really try to listen to the albums before I go
Yeah.
crazy and buy them.
Yeah, I feel you.
Although another album I'm really excited about this year, I don't know if you've heard of the band Post Animal, but they're
I
signed
have
to
not.
Polyvinyl, and
Okay.
they have a few albums out, and their newest one is called Forward Motion Goddessy, and I'm very, very excited about that.
I've
They're
written that
kind of
down
like
so I could check it out.
psychedelic rock mixed with like a modern indie rock.
Mm-hmm.
They're kind of hard to describe because they're like a sound all their own, and I actually just kind of stumbled upon them one day and I fell in love, and it's definitely something I would recommend to check out. Also, Weezer's coming out with a new album this year.
Yep, I was just about to say that, but before that is Nightwish. Human to Nature is what it's called. I'm interested to see where that is. I didn't check out their previous album. I've been behind, but I always love Nightwish. We have Red in 1975. You're actually coming to my city, which is crazy.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the
Yeah.
1975 either, which I know like these modern pop bands that everyone loves. I guess everyone just expects me to like them, and
hmm
I feel so weird that I don't.
I liked their first album, and then I heard the second one. I was like, on it. So I'm okay with it. I would probably, if I got the money to it, or if I won tickets, I'd probably go. But it's nice to see that a band like that can come to my area for other people to get excited for it.
Yeah, definitely understandable. I think the only time I've ever really enjoyed one of their songs is Knuckle Puck covered one of their songs, Chocolate, and
hmm
I love that
I
cover.
like that cover too.
And I think that was like the one song that I really liked from them, and I've heard their version like of the song as well, and I really like that too.
hmm
So I think that's probably my favorite from them, but I
Same for
don't
me.
really know a whole lot. So
Their first album is actually really good. It's not in my top 10 or anything. Maybe like it might break top 100. It's been a while since I've listened to it, but
mhm.
uh yeah, to continue on, there's some other ones that have been announced to be coming out. Alanis Morissette for May 1st, which is cool. A new one from the Airborne Toxic event. Of course, we talked about Weezer. There's a new one from
Yep.
Static X. Of course, you know that I believe the singer passed away, and I think this is like the last recordings that they had. And then, of course, Haley Williams, Pedals for Armor is coming out May 8th, which is very exciting. Very exciting.
And I'm excited about that as well. I still need to listen to the single. I feel so behind
You're
talking
fine.
about all this new music coming out.
It is, I'll say this, it's fire. Um, it is worth the hype, everybody's saying. And
And I've tried to not like listen to what everyone else because I'm like, no, 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 don't ruin it, don't spoil it. I'm so worried that somebody's
that
gonna
is
spoil
my
something.
spoiler free thoughts on it is it's good.
Hey, I'm excited. If it's good, I'm excited. I just know some people get so excited and spoil songs, and I'm just like, no. And I hate when that happens
Yeah,
when I've not had time to listen to something I've been looking forward to, and then
exactly.
someone blurts out this big, like, there's this really cool drum solo or guitar solo, or these lyrics are really awesome, or whatever.
You need to
So,
just I you need to stay away from social a little bit more until you listen to
yeah, I've definitely been trying to
it.
just stay off of Twitter because I know Twitter is where it all happens and everything gets spoiled for me.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
staying off there.
Yeah. Yeah. But what was interesting is this is non-spoiler stuff. Haley was there was a highlight about like an article that was written about the song, which again I'm not going to give anything away from. But at the bottom, you saw her listening to Pearl Jam's newest song, and my head exploded.
Yeah, hey. I mean, Pearl Jam is great.
Yeah.
I feel like everybody likes Pearl Jam
Mm-hmm.
in a way.
Yeah, there's some people that don't, and we're not going to go into politics in this show, but they are a very political band, and some people don't like that.
Yeah, I, I hate going into politics. I hate talking
We're not
about
doing that,
politics
but
with people, but
I'm just saying
yeah.
that's a that's the only reason why some people might not like them is how political they are, and
Hmm.
that's all I'm going to say on it. And trust
Yeah.
everybody listening, trust us, we're not going into politics on this at all.
Oh no, because I would hate that debate. I hate listening to people just like debate back and forth.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just not worth it to me.
So those are the albums coming out this year. There's probably gonna be more announced as time goes along. I mean, it's still early, but all those were literally kind of announced before now, or just we're only at the end of January in the new decade,
Hmm.
and it's crazy. I think maybe we should also have a best of decade, last decade episode. That might be a fun thing to do. That way
Oh
we can actually
gosh,
have
yeah.
time to talk about it. We don't have any plans for this show, but maybe like some top 10 episodes might be fun. I'll talk to you after that, after we're all done recording this. But I think that might be just kind of fun to have it be kind of free form and open. You know, no plans right now. It's just this is a brand new thing. We're very excited for everything.
Yeah, I'm excited to just talk about music and people that I find
Yeah.
interesting and things that I like, you know.
Hmm.
And there's a lot of smaller bands that I like, so I'm kind
Yeah.
of glad that I'll be able to put their name out there more and maybe get someone interested in what they do.
Exactly. Same
So,
here. Especially because Diamante, like I said, I'm going to talk about her probably a lot. Is, you know, yes, she's gotten some radio play, not around here, but she's gotten quite a lot of radio play. And it's unfortunate around here that a lot of it's country around here. Not knocking country, of course, but
mhm.
a lot of it's country here, and the rock station only plays the big names. And I'm a little sad about that. The alt station does play it, but it's kind of hard to like a band and then try to rally people around it, especially because like I only listen to what's on the radio.
Yeah, for sure. We have a lot of country stations in Kentucky as well. I mean, I guess
Hmm.
you'd expect it because we're in the South.
Yeah,
But I mean, the main rock and pop stations just play like the top 40s kind of stuff, I guess, and it kind of gets old.
hmm,
But I wish we had more variety. It's so when I hear a song that is from a smaller band, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I know that song. It's really exciting.
yes, yes, definitely. And I'm kind of sad because we used to actually have an alternative rock station. What I mean is alternative from the big one.
Hmm.
And the DJ that ran it would play like Queensryche and older Judas Priest. And also, she had a weekly metal showcase Saturday nights at like 11 o'clock at night. She's turned it into a Spotify playlist now, but she spent a year or so down in Florida, and then, of course, that station immediately just went defunct. And I was so pissed off because that station actually played more variety of rock music.
Hmm.
And she got
See,
me
I
into
like a variety.
yeah, she got me into so many metal bands. Like I wouldn't be listening to Gojira, Ginger. A lot of the bands I listen to now would not be without her. So when you get a good DJ, it could really, really, get you into a lot of good music.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I feel like the same for whenever you go into a record store and like if you have someone that works there and they're really good at their job,
Mm-hmm.
they'll be playing really cool music when you go in because there's some people that work at our record store that kind of play like the same generic basic albums that everyone knows, and then there's some that will play a variety of music,
Yeah.
and you get to hear all these new genres that you never thought existed and new
Yep.
bands that you'd never heard of. And I kind of like when you get to geek out about music and talk
Mm-hmm.
about people that somebody else has never heard of and you get to kind of introduce them to a new band.
Yeah, and it doesn't even matter what era they're from. It could be a '70s band that you haven't heard before.
Hmm. For sure. I mean, I just love learning about new music and getting introduced to new things. Because, I mean, it's always fun to grow and find new bands that you're interested in,
Definitely.
you know?
I can make a suggestion for you here.
Yeah.
Warren Zevon.
Okay.
His big hit, even though it's like he's had other chart success, but some people might think of him as a one hit wonder. Werewolves of London.
Okay, yeah.
He is
I do know
so
that
much
song.
more than that. If you want to, one of my favorite songs by him, and this is also one of the favorite songs of one of my favorite YouTube personalities. Uh, Let me make sure I get the name correct. Luckily, I'm on a computer, people. You're gonna hear typing for just a moment. It's called Roland the Headless Thompson Gunner.
Okay.
Funky ass name for a song, but it's a really good song. He is much more than just that. He's not political, but he's like a wordsmith with the way he writes, and it's very unfortunate the way he passed away. I believe it was lung cancer, and he
Oh,
put
that's
off
awful.
going to the doctor for so long that he it was a little too late for him. Uh, but he took it in stride, and one of his last albums, people could say you could hear that it's just like you could hear that he's tired. You know, it's getting to him, but
Yeah.
it's his body of work is just so much more than the not cheap, but kind of like the gimmicky. I don't want to call it gimmicky either because it's still a fun song, but
Oh, definitely, yeah.
it's the way he writes music is just so refreshing. Like even if you don't like the melody of it, the lyrical quality of it is just so awesome.
Yeah. I honestly didn't even know the name of the person that sang Werewolves of London, so, I've learned something today. I guess in a way, like, I've always considered that person a one hit wonder because I'd never heard anything else or never really heard anything about them.
Mm-hmm.
But what's really funny is Jared loves Kentucky sports radio,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, they talk about all kinds of sports, not just like Kentucky basketball or
Yeah.
football or anything, just a variety of things. And their opening song is Werewolves of London. And so, like, every time you hear him, like, ah, woo, like, my mind goes, like, oh no, it's going to be sports radio and I don't like this. But,
It's a
so
fun
it's kind of
song.
ruined the song for me.
I'll read you just a phrase of this, just to kind of give you an idea of the way he writes. Roland was a warrior from the land of the midnight sun, with a Thompson gun for hire, fighting to be done. The deal was made in Denmark on a dark and stormy day, so he set out for Biafra to join the bloody fray. Through 66 and 7, they fought the Congo War with their fingers on their triggers, knee deep in gore. The days and nights they battled, the Bantu on their knees. They killed to earn their living, to help the Congolese. Roland the Thompson Gunner, Roland the Thompson Gunner. So you see kind of the way he wordsmiths things.
Yeah, it's definitely very intriguing.
Yeah, and it's, that funny song, the woo and all of that. But, I think he had a lot of fun on that song, but he is definitely more than that. And I hope we could both showcase something like that as we kind of go along with this.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So let's go back to the conversation of records and, kind of everything. I think do you want to talk about like what setups we have? That way people can kind of get an idea of what we listen to on what devices.
Yeah, sure. Mine is insanely basic, and there's going to be some audio file out there that probably crucifies me and tells me I know nothing about records. But I'm not very tech savvy, so I keep it basic as possible.
It's fine.
I have an Audio Technica LP120.
Okay. Cool.
And I have it's the one that come on it. I don't even know the name of it. I think it's like the AT35 or something is the name of the needle. I really need to upgrade it.
Yes.
But I just haven't. And I have these basic Audio Technica speakers that come with the record player. So I don't even know the name of those either. And I feel really bad.
Apologies, everybody.
But I mean, they're really great speakers. They're really great quality. I've never had an issue out of them.
That's always a good thing.
Yeah, and I started with the LP60.
Okay.
When I first started collecting, so I've upgraded slowly.
Yeah. If you want a good budget cartridge, from Turntable Labs, I got the Grado Black.
Hmm.
That set me back about $70.
Okay, that's not as bad. I've been wanting to get the Ortophon red or blue that everyone talks about,
I want to get that
and
too,
I mean,
but
I know they sound super great, probably, but
I love
I
my
just
Grado.
don't have $200
If you don't
laying
have two hundred
around.
dollars, then the Grado Black will be a nice upgrade.
Oh, we'll
Um,
definitely have to check into that.
I've also you don't have to go to the high end one. You can just get the basic one. I paid 70
Hmm.
and even got like a special head cartridge, a head shell, and they
Uh-huh.
mounted it for me, which is
Well,
great.
hey, yeah, that's less work for me to do.
Turntable Lab is great. Too bad there used to be a place called Jerry Raskin's Needle Doctor, which like
Hmm.
is like a dream for people like us who collect. Unfortunately, that place closed down, but I could recommend definitely because I've had mine for so long. I've actually replaced the stylus on mine, and it's super easy to replace the stylus on this thing. You just wiggle it out, put the thing, put the next stylus in. It was very easy. I love my Greta Black cartridge. It's more of a mid cartridge, so you'll still hear the bass. Trust me, I put on Billie Eilish, and my speakers are shaking.
Uh-huh.
But if you
Eh,
want, like, it's a good middle ground. It's a good step up cartridge until you can actually
mhm.
afford that nicer Ortophon red or blue. There's even $16,000 cartridges out there. So,
Yeah, I know they can get really pricey, and
mm,
I know I'm probably gonna get shit on by all of the old snobby men that think that
no.
they're the greatest collectors in the world, but I really don't care. And I know that sounds really awful, but I'm not collecting records for like the greatest sound quality.
Mm-hmm.
I just collect them because I enjoy listening to them. And I mean,
Yes,
what I have now sounds perfectly fine. And I've never
exactly.
had an issue with anything I've had. And, of course, over time, you're going to learn better things and
Of
upgrade,
course. Of
which, of
course.
course, I want to upgrade things. But I'm not in it for this has to sound like 110% perfect, or I'm
No.
not listening to it kind of
No.
thing. Like, I think sometimes people can take it way overboard.
Yeah.
You don't have to have a super fancy setup, and I think that kind of turns people away from collecting records, is because
Exactly.
they think they have to have this 10 plus thousand dollars setup.
No, 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 no,
And
no, no.
mine cost me like $200, maybe a
Exactly.
little more. So
My friend has the Audio Technica, the other one you were talking about, the one that doesn't have the anti skate and the tone arm, but it's just one that kind of just moves over. Has the
yeah, the LP60.
Yeah, the LP60, which is $100. Actually, that is better than any of the suitcase ones, and I'm not knocking the suitcase ones because if that's all you
Hmm.
can afford, just listen to your music. But um, it's going to be definitely better for you. For $200, yeah, you could get yourself a setup, and it'll sound great. It's not.
Yeah.
It's There's that stigma, the barrier to entry with it. I agree. But I'm not snobbing you for it. You have a decent turntable. The one I'll explain the one I have, but I want to definitely save up like $500 for the Fluence. And if I'm gonna go,
Yes, I've heard about that one. I've heard it's really great.
yeah, and if I'm gonna go with that, I might as well get the stack and have a
Hmm.
dedicated preamp to the amp because I bought the cartridge. I get this catalog of like the high end stuff. Just I like to look at it because I'm like, okay, this is what I could save up for, to upgrade my setup and everything.
Hmm.
But I've heard nothing but good things about the Fluence, and that is pretty much what I want to spend for my next turntable. Is that much?
Yeah. I've also heard a lot of good things about the U-turn turntables.
Yes, it's
I've
between that and
not bought
Fluence.
one. but I've heard a lot of great things about those.
Yeah.
But I think for me the most important thing is, if you want to get into records and collecting, don't let like the money aspect scare you, because
No.
like you said, over time you can upgrade things and you can save money and put more money back. Because I know people that have owned a Crosley, and I'm not even going to get into that. I know Crosleys are bad for your records.
Actually, there's a Crosley that has a anti-skate and the counterweight on it.
Oh wow! So Crosley is stepping up their game.
Yes, so we don't have to knock that. That's a good starting point. I mean, like I said earlier, what did I say when I started? I had one of those shitty radio and turntable combos that I gave to my best friend, and that is literally a plastic needle.
Yeah. I mean, hey, you've got to start somewhere.
Exactly.
Thing, So I hate when these people it's mainly older people that I see on YouTube doing it. They'll go and see these girls that are my age, high school, college age girls, and they'll tell them that they're doing it wrong. They don't need to be collecting records, and they shouldn't do this, they shouldn't do that, they shouldn't own this, they should own that instead. And while I think it's okay to give advice because you're more knowledgeable, I don't think that you should ever really judge someone for owning something, And that's kind of like, I guess, my biggest pet peeve in the vinyl community as a whole, is that some people just think that if you don't have like what they have, and if you don't do what they do, then you don't do it right.
There's that elitist mentality that we are here to shake up and break up.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So
I am not, I'm not that geeky about stuff like that. And that's like awesome if people are, and they want to have like, a $20,000 setup with all the greatest upgrades. Like, not knocking that either. If that's what you want to do, then by all means go for it,
If you want to have a magnetic floating platter with three tone arms with three specific cartridges on it with uber diamond styluses, go for it.
Yeah, for sure. Because I mean, it's up to everyone, and you really just got to find what you like and what makes you comfortable. Because I found when I was shopping for my first record player, a lot of the advanced ones, and even like the LP 120 that I had, really like made me nervous, because I was like, I don't know how to work this. I want to get something basic and something to where I'm comfortable using it and getting the feel for using it. I mean, especially if you're my age and you didn't grow up listening to records, you know, like my dad did, and of course my dad told me things about collecting records and gave me pointers, but he was used to using the equipment, and so I feel like basic turntables are kind of easy just to start off with, and to see if you even like the hobby, because you can buy the Crosley Cruiser or the LP 60 or whatever other basic turntable there is out there, and you could find out you don't like listening to records, you don't like collecting records, and if you've bought this big fancy system, you've just wasted $2,000-$3,000 and you're never going to use it again.
Exactly.
So I feel like it's kind of smart to stick with cheaper items when you're first starting out, and then once you find out you really like the hobby, of course you can upgrade things.
Yeah, and the LP60 is one that I completely praise for being a beginner turntable, because all you have to do is grab that and 2 speakers and you're done. Like, you could it really is, I don't know the price of speakers, but that's $100 for that, and then you just get a couple speakers, and that's all you need.
Yeah, the Audio-Technica speakers that I have, I believe they're like $60 on their own, but when I bought the LP 120, they came with it. So
nice.
I mean, I got like, I think I spent maybe almost $200 on the record player itself, and I got those extra speakers. So really, my setup is over $300, and I got it for a bargain. So the best thing is kind of shop around. And I know at one point Barnes and Noble even had a deal where you could get the Audio-Technica speakers with the LP60. So
so
that's something to
there are deals around there. If you dig around, you'll find them. Now, without further much ado, this is my setup. So I have a very old Ion LP dock. It's normally a $300 turntable, but I lucked out. I was at my local, one of the thrift stores. Now that's defunct, and now it's a Goodwill. but they just had it sitting on the floor. Box looked brand new, and my eyes kind of lit up because I'd been wanting one for a while. And I looked at it, had them look at it. It was brand new, mint in box. I paid $40 for it.
Hey,
I got
that's a
lucky.
deal.
I got lucky. And since
For
then, I've
sure.
upgraded from its arguably very bad counterweight on it. It wanted 5 grams to a 1.8 gram. And we'll go, this is our intro. We'll go into all that kind of techie stuff as time goes along. But essentially, it goes down to what's called tracking force, and that's why people are so, tracking force essentially is how much pressure, downward pressure, that the needle and the stylus and all of that puts on the record. That's why people are cautious about Crosley, but it really, in the long run, things. I have my Led Zeppelin. It still plays just fine. It was put into one of those crappy, 5+ gram turntables. So,
Yeah.
if you're really cautious about it, and you get an idea of everything, you're great. My turntable is fully manual, so I have no way of actually having an auto return. I actually have to drop the needle myself, but it has a play pause feature. I rarely use it because I noticed my needle was bent a little bit, so it's very rare that I use the pause feature. But big tip with that is to brush your records. If anything, just get an anti-static brush, brush your records, and you're good to go. So,
Yeah.
Ion LP dock with a Greta Black cartridge, just a basic Greta Black cartridge. My receiver is a Yamaha receiver. It's a Bluetooth receiver, so I can get radio, Bluetooth, and multiple sources in. So you can see my, we're recording this on Discord. You can see my Discord profile picture. Just behind the record is where I keep my CD player. And what I do is, what's nice about my turntable is I can actually audio in. So I can put an auxiliary cable in and I can play CDs from it. Because I don't have a dedicated CD player yet. I thought I did. I bought one for $1 at the thrift store. Turns out there's nothing I could do to fix it. It makes like a digital diddly 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 noise that I can't fix. I've taken that thing apart. I've cleaned the contacts. I've done everything I can. It's not fixable, unfortunately. But I only spent $1. So what how can you be angry?
Yeah. Hey, there's a Blackweb. That's the brand at Walmart. I bought it. It was like $30. It's fantastic. I had this old one. I can't even remember the name of the brand, but I had got it for Christmas when I was like in 2nd grade. So I mean, this thing lasted me for
However long.
16 years, and the speakers blew out of it, and I'm sure I probably could have had it looked into and fixed, but I was like, you know what? I'd probably spend more fixing these speakers than if I just bought a new CD player. So I've just recently bought that, and I really love it. So I would recommend that if you're in the market for a new CD player.
Yes. The speakers I have are RCA speakers, and they came with this CD, like 6 CD changer and radio that I had. So they're wired, which is kind of cool. It was old enough, that CD changer was old enough to have wired speakers. So I just popped those suckers, their bookshelf speakers. I popped those suckers right into that receiver. Boom. That's my setup. I love my setup.
And another cheap way to get a setup is to go to your local record stores, because yes, they do have new record players that are, in the box, that have never been used before, but they also have some really good used ones. I mean, whether they're like vintage from the 70s or whether they're, the Audio Technica record players. I've seen several of those, that are used but are still in great condition.
Absolutely.
And since they're used, they're cheaper. So, you can always count on your local record store, and even if there's nothing there you like the first time you go, you can check different times, because they'll always be getting new stock.
Exactly.
And different things. And so I always love going and supporting my record store, not only just to buy records, but, to buy cleaning supplies for my records, and to, just look at new turntables because there's
Mm-hmm.
always something new in there that I've never heard of.
Yes. And
You know,
call ahead. There's a great way to, we'll have a conversation on this probably another episode. Recordstoreday.com. If you go there, you can find your local stores and you call them and ask them if they sell turntables.
yeah. I mean, my local record store, they're just so awesome. You can call them and ask them about anything,
Mm-hmm.
and they'll tell you if they have it, if they don't have it, if they can order it for you.
Absolutely.
I mean, they're so great. They'll write your name and number down, they'll know what you're looking for. I mean, then they always keep it in mind whether they find something the next day or 2 months later or a year later. They try their hardest to make the customer happy and help
Mm-hmm.
them find what they're looking for. And, they're always good about phone calls too. You call them up and you're like, hey, do you have the new such and such album, or do you have this album, or do you have this speaker system or whatever? I mean, and they're always on it. So
Mm-hmm.
your local record stores are probably your greatest source for
Absolutely.
anything vinyl related.
And if they're worth their salt, they are just as big a music fan as you are.
Yeah, for sure. The guy
Yeah.
that owns my local record store has a 10,000 plus record collection,
Oh, I'll
which
bet.
is crazy to even think about. I mean, I don't even know if I like 10,000 albums when I sit down to think about it.
Exactly.
And I'm just like, wow. I mean, can you imagine how much room that takes up? Because, I mean, I have over 1,000, and I mean, that
Mm-hmm.
takes up a good chunk of, my room. So,
Yeah. Yeah, more than me.
yeah, I know. I have this addiction to records, and
Is this
it
Vinyls
keeps
Anonymous? Is this Vinyls?
Yeah,
I'm not
it
using
is.
vinyls. Don't use that term vinyls. I'm sorry, everybody. I use the term vinyls. Vinyl Addict Anonymous. I'm sorry for using that term, everybody. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know. We can't use the vinyls word. That's not a word.
Actually, it's VINY apostrophe, like L apostrophe S. So I did it with the apostrophe.
Yeah. I mean, I've never really gotten into that whole vinyl versus vinyls debate.
Yeah.
I understand why it can make people mad, but at the same time, I'm like, it's a vinyl record. If you have multiple, wouldn't it be considered, apostrophe S?
It
You
might be, yeah.
I
Now we're
don't
debating
know.
grammar.
I'm not the grammar police.
Me
I'm
neither.
not gonna.
No.
I mean, and who cares if you say something wrong? I mean, most of the time people are learning and they don't realize they say something wrong. And if
yeah.
you say, hey, it's this instead of this, go on about it. And,
Yeah. I will say this. A couple of the communities that I'm in on Facebook are really nice. And they'll correct, but in a nice way. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
They'll be like,
yeah, see, that's what I like.
Yeah. It's not like, you noob, it's vinyl. No, it's...
Yeah. Like, I hate when people sound so condescending about things like that. I think that's, like, my biggest pet peeve. It's not
you
that
mean
you're
like to sound like
trying
this?
to correct anybody. It's just that you're being a douchebag while doing
Yeah.
it.
Actually, the term is this. Actually, it's vinyl because it's like this, and you're really pronouncing a plural. You like that, right?
Yeah. I just, I don't know. To me, I don't see why you would need to, if you're a 60-year-old man, why do you need to belittle a, 16-year-old high school girl
Mm-hmm.
for having Justin Bieber and One Direction and Shawn Mendes in her collection? Who cares?
They're actually helping keep the hobby alive.
Exactly. That was going to be my next point, is they're actually they're going to these stores and buying these records. They're keeping this hobby, relevant.
Exactly.
And, who cares what music they listen to? Just because they don't listen to whatever Southern rock, classic rock stuff that you do, doesn't mean it's necessarily bad.
Nope.
I mean, that's with anything. Like, if I don't listen to something that you do or anybody else does, doesn't mean it's bad. It's just, we all have different tastes, and I think we're all entitled to that too. So I really am like, what is your beef with these like teenage girls? That's what I really want to know, is what is these old dudes beef with teenage girls? Like, I just really don't understand. Does it make you feel good, Gramps? Like, does it make you feel good that you're hurting a 16-year-old girl's feelings and she's in her room crying because she thinks she's done everything wrong and she just doesn't even need to collect records anymore?
Well, I think we have the title for this episode: Introduction and What's the Beef?
Yeah, what's the beef, Gramps? I mean, I don't know. I try to be like nice to everybody, and if somebody asks questions too, like, and shows that they're actually trying to learn the hobby instead of just, well, no, I'm right and I'm always right and I'm never gonna do this the way you tell me to do this kind of thing, like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I think it's a respect thing either way.
Yeah.
So
The only people we do not respect are the genuinely bad flippers.
yeah, no, I hate flippers with a passion.
Yeah. There was one guy who unfortunately had to sell, and he told me about that. He did sound like a flipper, but he was like a respectful one. Like he didn't just grab it just to grab it. You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
Like he had to say, he's like, do you, like he's thinking it's an investment, but really it's not. Unless it's a
Yeah.
certain like rare one, it's not going to be really an investment. And even then, people will be willing to pay that. But even then, we're here to listen to it. It's not meant to be like, all right, I got it. Let me just hammer it up on the wall and look at it.
Yeah.
Now there's one record I have up on my wall. It's a test pressing. So we'll get into all the terminology in another episode, probably next one, like how records are pressed and everything. But I have a test pressing. I don't ever plan on listening to it. That's why it's on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
I have a Signed by Paramore single. I have the song already on vinyl, so I'm putting it up on the wall because Haley accidentally signed into the lead-in grooves.
Oh no.
I'm like, I don't want to ruin the record, and I don't want to ruin my stylist. So
Yeah, for sure.
the Y of her name just barely goes into. And for terminology, the lead-in grooves are those grooves at the very, very end before the music starts. So that's what we mean by lead-in grooves.
Yeah. I have a few records that are hanging on my wall that I've been given like doubles of.
Mm-hmm.
So there are a few I have that way. And then I do have one signed record that I acquired during the holiday season that was very special to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure we'll talk about it in another episode, but it is Queen's Sheer Heart Attack, signed by all of the original 4 members, and I still honestly can't believe that I own it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was like a monumental moment because Queen is one of my favorite bands and has been, you know, since I was young and got into music, and it's my prized possession in all honesty.
Mm-hmm.
I don't ever see me playing that copy of Sheer Heart Attack. I do have it on vinyl, so you know, it's,
you have your play copy and then you have your display copy.
Yeah, and you know, I don't think there's anything wrong with that either.
Nope.
You know, having a copy you play and a copy you have for keeps or whatever.
Absolutely.
You know, when I first started collecting, my mindset was, why do you want to have like 3 or 4 of the same album? And then, you know, when I really got into it, there are different mixes, you know, different
pressings,
weight vinyl, different pressings in general. You know, there's so much that goes into pressing an album that you don't even really realize.
I'll give an example when you're done.
Oh no, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, so one of my favorite bands is Volbeat.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my favorite songs by them is called For Evigt, which is the same song called The Bliss. This was off of not their newest one, but the previous one, Seal the Deal and Let's Boogie.
Mm-hmm.
In European countries, they got For Evigt, and they got The Bliss as a extra song. In America, we got The Bliss, and For Evigt was an extra song. If I want to get For Evigt on vinyl, I have to buy a European pressing and import it.
Yeah, and that's a lot. I didn't realize that either, is that if you get a record and it's, you know, from another country, it can have a totally different track list, a totally different cover, but still be the same record, you know? And I think that's really cool as well. Just, you know, I have a few that are from Germany or the UK.
Yep.
I think I have a Mexican pressing. I have some Japanese pressings.
I have a Russian pressing.
Oh, that's very interesting.
Yep.
I don't have one of those.
It's called Green Peas,
Uh-huh.
and it was so during the USSR era, the government actually wanted to allow the people to hear some Western music. So they
Uh-huh.
got some Western artists to donate quote unquote songs, and all the proceeds would go to help environmental stuff over there.
Well, that is very awesome.
So they got to hear some Western music, and it was for a decent cause, whether you agree with the USSR government or not. They've been gone a
Yeah.
long time, but it's just a very cool statement piece. And it was in a $5 bin at my favorite record store. And I walk in and I take a look at it, and Martin, who's the owner of Vinyl Days in Virginia Beach, says, "I know you're gonna like that."
Yeah, I mean, hey, for sure. There's some really cool stuff out there if you dig. I mean, and another aspect of collecting that's really fun
Mm-hmm.
is once you've built up your collection and you have your favorites and you
Mm-hmm.
start, branching out into things you see in the record store, you find some really cool stuff that way too. There's been things that I'm like, oh, that band title is really cool. The album title is really cool. It's got really cool album art, you
Mm-hmm.
know, things like that. And it's become a really cool album, and I've actually really enjoyed the album, which there are those duds that I'm like,
Yeah.
that's not as great as what I had hoped, but that's always really cool because you can just branch out and listen to something
Yeah.
new. So
So, for example, there's like John Mellencamp, uh, Bruce Hornsby, Brian Adams. There's Sting is on there. U2 is on there. So it's some stuff that I did not have actual music for. That was really cool. I also have a British pressing that's called British Power or something like that, and it has Layla on there, and it was the only reason I bought it. But it has so many other artists that I like. So don't knock the compilations either. You'll find
yeah,
stuff
the
that's kind of
comp
cool and
records are
funky.
really cool too. You can find some really awesome
Yeah,
comp records.
and uh, if your store is cool enough, they might have listening stations for those used records. So if you're on the fence about it, you can walk over. They'll help you out, and you can actually go listen to it and see if it's something that you want.
Yeah, see, I wish our record store had that, but there's just not enough room,
Yeah, my
you
store has
know.
that. I've only used it once because I've gone long enough to trust their judgment on grading.
Mhm.
And yeah, there's actual grades. It's like any hobby, like collecting Pokemon cards, collecting baseball cards. There's grades for everything, and it just helps you understand, what condition is on everything. The
Yep.
the right record, if done correctly, will have none of those clicks and pops. It'll sound clean, and even the clicks and pops you could still enjoy to a degree, but it should not really have that. It should be a clean sound,
Mhm.
and yeah.
Yeah, hey, I mean, ours doesn't really like put a grading on the price tag. I know a lot of stores that do, and I really appreciate when stores do that.
Exactly.
But, you know, I've been going to this store long enough to know that he doesn't buy crappy stuff. If it's
Exactly.
crappy, he sends you packing. He's like, I'm not going to sell, even a 25-cent record that's
Mm-hmm.
not worthy of being played.
Yeah.
Even his cheap records are
Playable.
decent quality.
Yeah.
Like they may not sound the greatest, but they're not warped and they're
It'll
not
probably just say this is mainly for
skipping,
like
they're
a
not
cover,
unplayable,
right?
you
Mainly like
know.
used for a cover if you need to swap out a cover.
Yeah, basically kind of stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um
Speaking of selling records, as soon as we're done here, I'm going to be calling my local record store. I'm going to sell a couple of records. I've never done this, but there are a couple of artists where one has had sexual allegations 2 years ago, and I keep reading about it to see if it went anywhere. It hasn't, but it's been weighing on me for some time now. And then, of course, the other record is an ex-husband of one of the artists we've already talked about, and the fallout from that. I've been wanting to take it down for years. I just never got around to it. But I feel like now it's a new, decade. It's time to like just get them out of here so I don't even have to think about them.
yeah, for sure. I've sold a couple records due to the same thing. there's a band called Moose Blood that I was really into,
Mm-hmm.
and they had some sexual allegations come out. I don't really know if they were true or not. Nobody ever really took it anywhere,
Mm-hmm.
or not that I had seen, and I haven't really looked into it in a long time. But
Mm-hmm.
kind of when that come out, I was like, okay, I'm done with this band.
Yeah.
Although there are a few bands that I still continue to listen to. They've had allegations against them,
Mm-hmm.
but they've either kicked the member out or the allegations aren't true.
Yeah.
So I try and read into things before I
Same.
sell stuff.
Same.
So I've not sold a lot. I've sold some that maybe I just don't listen to that much anymore or whatever. But for the most part, I've not really sold a lot of my collection either.
Yeah, it has to be something that is like you said, either I haven't listened to it in like a couple of years or it's just been weighing on me. So
Yeah.
I've looked online. I know I'm probably not going to get this, but it's a rarer pressing. It's Born's first album, Dopamine, and it's the Amazon exclusive red pressing. I know I'm probably not going to get this for it, but it's sold for like $40.
Yeah.
If I could get maybe like 10, I'll be happy. Because what I'm going to do is, whatever I get, I'm going to turn around, look in the store, and use that money right away to buy something.
Oh, of course, yeah. And the store I go to, whenever you sell records to it, you get more in store credit than you do in cash.
Yeah, I was just going to do store credit and be like, I'm going to be like, look, whatever you give me, I'm going to just turn around and buy something anyway. So just tell me what my budget is.
Exactly. Like, I'll go in there with a stack of stuff, and they'll be like, okay, this is what you get. And I'll be like, yeah, here we go. I think of it as free money.
Yeah.
Even though it's not free money.
Exactly.
But, I go crazy. I'm like, yeah, this is not my money.
Yeah.
I already spent my money on these records, and here I am just getting new records for these records.
Yeah.
And it's a problem, but,
it is. But it's part of
that's a whole nother issue.
It's part of the fun.
Exactly. It is, trading and buying new stuff. It's all fun in games,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I think we're about good for this first episode here, but kind of just to wrap things up, this has been a lot of fun just recording this first episode.
Yeah, definitely. I've really enjoyed, talking about music.
Same here. I think next time we could go into a little more of the mechanics of how records are made. We can talk a little more turntable stuff. And then I think we'd like to start talking about the big record store day.
Yeah, of course. I'm very excited for Record Store Day.
Because
I'm always excited for Record Store Day.
So I'll go over it in a second, but I did a little bit of digging online. I found some interesting information. So for those uninitiated, Record Store Day is a celebration of your local independent record stores. Every day should be Record Store Day. Every day you should go celebrate your local record store, but this is a special celebration. So on this day, there's a bigger one in April, third Saturday in April this year. It's April the 18th. Mark your calendars. And then on Black Friday, a whole bunch of labels decide they're going to press special editions of certain records. Some could be rare, some could be not. And there's various categories which we'll go into next time. But it's really just a celebration of your local independent record store. Mine goes all out with what they do at Vinyl Days. And I cannot wait to tell you exactly what they do. I think I've talked about it on my channel before, but I'd like to hear what your store does. But they go all out, especially because they have a restaurant beside them. So, and it's a local owned restaurant too.
I mean, hey, that's always the best. Ours always has some kind of food from a local restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
There's two different stores that we usually go to, and one usually has donuts from a local donut shop.
Uh-huh.
And the other usually has, and it's different every year, but somebody that has like a food truck in our area.
Oh, cool.
And it's always super fun, and they always try and do, bands will come in and play.
Oh, yeah. It's a huge celebration of music.
Fun deals too, and it's just so fun because you get to stand in line and talk to a bunch of people who love music as much as you.
Absolutely. Mine rents out the restaurant next door and does a buffet breakfast.
Oh, hey.
With free live music, One of the dudes, his name is Bennett Wales. Check out Bennett Wales in the Relief, everybody. They're a great local band from around here. He is one guy who actually works at the store, and he plays acoustic stuff. They also do ticket giveaways. The local classic rock station came in, was giving Blu-rays away. I got La La Land. They gave a whole bunch of CDs away. They gave records away. They go all out. It is a celebration.
Yeah, and it's always super fun. I've never had like a crappy record store day experience.
Me neither. One of the pieces I'm selling is a record store day piece. Unfortunately, the band is Newfound Glory. Since we already talked about Haley, it was a tribute album to the Ramones, but because of who it is, I could no longer have it. And it was one of the first ever record store day things I ever bought. It's unfortunate, but I still have another one too. Biffy Clyro came out with a 7-inch for Black Chandelier Live. I still pop it and listen to it to this day. But that's one I haven't listened to in a couple years. So, to be honest, I haven't listened to any of them in a couple of years. So it's good to just purge, to be honest.
Very true. Because then, you have room for new stuff.
Exactly.
And other stuff that you're more interested in and going to listen to. And, it's always hard giving up an RSD title.
Yeah.
Because it's like, man, these are so coveted. And you want to ask for, money for them, but you also don't want to be one of those dudes. It's like, this is $200. I waited in line for 5 hours to buy this record and mark it up 100%.
Whatever he can give me is whatever he can give me. I want these out.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that's my thing with it. I'm like, if you're going to buy a rare record only to flip it.
Yeah, no.
Like, why?
It's nice if it goes up in value, but I'm not looking for that.
Exactly. Like, I like for things to go up in value, but at the end of the day, I really don't want to sell those unless I'm like really hurting for money or, something like sexual abuse allegations, sexual harassment, stuff like that. That would be the only reason I'd probably ever really get rid of something that rare.
I'm kind of tempted though, because I have the LCLP from 21 Pilots.
Ooh.
And if you've been on Discogs, you know how much that goes for.
Yeah, I know. I've been wanting a copy of that, and I was not able to snag it on Record Store Day.
I was, but if there is one person I would part it with, it would be you, and I'd give you an absolutely fair price for it.
Well, that makes me feel so special.
People have asked me if I'm willing to sell it, and I just don't want to part with it because it's one of my coolest records. I actually don't play it that much, to be honest, because of how rare it is. But I would give you not what they're asking.
Yeah,
Trust me.
Sometimes records are so crazy, and I'm just like, why? Like, I think the biggest expense I ever, made was I paid $150 for a Nirvana record.
Mm-hmm.
It was Nirvana's Incesticide. It was the original 1992 Blue Swirl pressing.
Oh, cool.
And it was killer. I had to do it, and I don't regret spending that much money because that was like my first big purchase early on into collecting. And I don't think I'll ever regret buying that record because I love that record and I play it, but I don't play it as often because of how much money I spent on it.
There's one record, and this is my top grail, The Other Side by Tonight Alive. It always goes for $100, and I never have the money at the time for it, but maybe one day I'll be able to just drop the money on eBay and get it.
Yeah, hey, that's what I hope for on some of these records that are really valuable. I'm like, maybe one day I'll have this blow on this and have it in my collection at last.
What baffles me about the LCLP is it's 3 songs, and I only paid $12 for it at the time. Yeah. Why has it gone up so much?
Yeah, there are so many fans of 21 Pilots now.
Yeah.
And I hate to say it, but their last album, Trench, was very generic.
Amen.
At least to me.
Amen.
And I hate to say that.
Because, I hate to say it too.
The idea of 21 Pilots is they were supposed to be different from everybody else. And I felt like that album was just like everybody else.
And excuse me.
I've enjoyed all of their previous albums, and I'm still excited to see what they do in the future.
Same.
But
They could pull a Taylor Swift, and the next album will be absolutely fantastic.
yeah, exactly. I think that they were just really feeling the pressure of
Yeah.
a lot of people, really, because after Blurry Face come out, like, everyone was obsessed with 21 Pilots. Like, popular girls in school that wore Nirvana shirts and had no idea who Nirvana were listening to 21 Pilots.
I got to see them just a little after Vessel had dropped with AWOL Nation the year I graduated college.
Mm-hmm.
That show was electric. It was
I wish
awesome.
I could go see them, but tickets are just so outrageous.
Yeah, I got to see them before the thing before they blew up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad I did, but I agree that is definitely generic. And I was sneezing Fueled by Ramen, by the way, because that label has been notorious to change artists.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but I definitely agree. There's a band called Swimmers who I love,
mm-hmm.
and they got signed by Fueled by Ramen,
mm-hmm.
and the newest album was nothing compared to their first album.
Yeah.
Berkeley's on Fire couldn't even hold a candle to Drive North, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely.
And Panic at the Disco, they've ruined Panic at the Disco too.
They have.
Which, I feel like that's just gone down over time anyway. But
I'll say their last good album was the one with Vegas Lights on it. It's been a while since I've liked an album by them.
Yeah, it really has been a while since I've really gotten into some of their music. Now, they've had some songs off of some of their newer stuff that I've been like,
there's that one, Impossible Year. I love that song. I like songs off of Death of a Bachelor.
Yeah.
But it doesn't hold a candle to the one before it, because that's when I got to see them, was when Miss Jackson was getting big.
Uh-huh.
I saw them at the same venue I saw Diamante, and it holds maybe like 400 people.
Wow.
It was a very intimate show. It was really cool.
Yeah, that definitely sounds awesome.
Yeah, but, we could argue label stuff all along, but I got to say one last thing about 21 Pilots. Their self-titled album, amazing, before they got signed.
Mm-hmm.
Vessel, awesome. Blurry Face, I enjoyed it, but it was kind of like on par, but just a little under, and then just Trench was like...
Yep. Yeah, I definitely agree. Trench just was a flop for me.
I hear some of the songs, I think they're okay, but it's like, where was that fire that they had when it was the self-titled, before Josh even came in? Where is that fire? Like, where's the fire from Aircatcher? Which is one of the best uses of auto-tune I have ever heard. If you have not heard Aircatcher, go listen to it.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. They have so many great songs, and, Trench wasn't awful, but it was just more generic.
Yeah, and I did grip me, and what I loved about 21 Pilots is they gripped me. That's why I bought every single thing on Record Store Day, was because everything that came out gripped me, and then I feel like as soon as Heathens came out, I mean, I liked the song, but that was the first one that I was like, I don't need to get this.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of went downhill after that, because it's like, boom, 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 boom. And I think we set the expectation too high.
Mm-hmm. As fans, I feel like sometimes you'll push bands like, I need new music from you ASAP. And, they only dropped an album a year ago. And it's like, give me time to process and make an album. And
Tool took 13 years.
The longer break you take between an album, the better it's going to be.
Yeah, I mean, I loved the new Tool album. That was good. Give them time to live their lives, people.
For sure. Let them have a life.
Because we all know, especially going from the Motley Crue video and everything, of course, they're a unique case, but people get burnt out if they go too long.
That's very true. I'm excited to see Motley Crue because I've never gotten to see them.
You're in for a treat. I
know. I'm so excited. I remember when I got into them and my dad hated them, like absolutely despised them.
Yeah.
And so he wouldn't take me to their final tour. And I was like, Dad, I'm so disappointed because, I couldn't drive.
Yeah.
And so I had to have somebody go with me. And I was so disappointed that I wasn't going to get to see them. And so when it was rumored they would be going on, it's like, I swear if this doesn't happen, I'm just going to like fall on the floor and die.
But you're going.
But it did happen. And I am so excited about it because I've not seen Poison either. And I love them.
Yeah.
And Joan Jett and the Blackhearts, I mean, that's just a must. And I've seen Def Leppard before, so I already know what I'm getting there.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
great
I've seen
band
them too.
So,
yeah.
Very excited about all of it.
I saw Bret Michaels years and years and years ago with 38 Special and Lynyrd Skynyrd.
Oh, I love Bret Michaels.
That was a fantastic, fantastic show. Bret Michaels came out for Sweet Home Alabama, and it had been raining some of the night. But the minute Freebird started, the skies just opened up and dumped buckets of rain on everybody. Nobody left. They actually had to let people in because we're in an amphitheater and we have I got covered seating. They let people into the rows. Nobody left. And there was lightning and thunder in the background. You thought the show might be canceled. No, it was far enough away. But there was like kind of that heat lightning in the background. It was like one of those picturesque moments that I will always remember is turning back and seeing buckets of rain just as soon as the guitar solo hit.
Oh, that's so cool.
I count myself lucky.
An awesome show.
Yeah.
Hey,
when I saw Motley Crue,
some really great shows out there, and sometimes you get to enjoy those great shows. And sometimes you just hear about those moments.
When I got to see Motley Crue, I was at the same amphitheater, but our seats were the only seats not covered, and we were completely drenched by the end of Motley Crue.
Oh.
But they were coming with Kiss, and we had already seen Kiss by that point, so we just dipped because we were completely soaked. We were tired. We were getting cold. We're like, let's GTFO.
Yeah, for real.
But I think with that we could do our closing here. We were going to say that, and we talked for another 10 minutes. So, just goes to show we love talking about music.
I'm a talker anyway, so.
Yeah. So, by this point, my newest video should be dropped. We'll leave both of our channels in the description below. Please check them out.
Yeah, definitely. I actually have a new video coming out today as well. I've been uploading it while we've been on this podcast. So it's the Vinyl Tag 2020. So I'm talking about a bunch of cool records in my collection. So I'm very excited to unveil that today as well.
I have a couple of questions I don't have things for. So what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to wait until mid-year and do it. So I could actually answer a couple of those questions.
You'll see in my video, I kind of like backtrack a little bit on some questions. I'm kind of like, this shouldn't count, but it does. So,
Yep. So we're moving.
I cheated a little.
I think that's the fun of it, is you can cheat a little bit with it.
Exactly.
So, like we said, next time, which is probably in about 2 weeks' time, we'll come out. We'll talk about Record Store Day. We'll talk a little bit more about turntables and all that. But I think we are good for now. Thank you so very much for listening. Like we said, our channels will be in the description below. Please go ahead and give us a like on this. It'll help us out greatly. And if you like what you heard, please subscribe and click the bell icon because that helps, because YouTube's algorithm is shite.
Of course, yeah. I wish they'd get that fixed.
Yeah.
That's the issue.
And also, we've said it before, but we're going to say it now in case if the YouTube bots are listening, this is for adults.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
I mean, I guess you could be a kid and listen to this. It's not too awful, but
you won't be able to comment and have a say in what we're doing. We won't get to talk to you guys because we won't have comments on, unfortunately. Yep. But I think go ahead.
Oh no, you're fine. Go ahead.
But we'll leave all the socials down in the description below. We do have a Twitter for this page. Did we create an Instagram for this page? I forget.
I don't think so. I know the Twitter hates me and didn't want me to log in. So
I'll make sure you're able to do that by the time this is up. Um,
But
but we'll leave our Twitters, our socials, and the socials for this podcast down below. If you are one of the people, please also comment. That also helps the algorithm out as well.
mhm.
But let us know what you think.
Something you'd like to talk about.
Exactly.
Because, that's always cool to get ideas of what you guys would like to hear us talk about for an hour.
Yeah, actually, we are going on an hour and 25 minutes, so hour and a half. Perfect time for a podcast. All right, so with that, thank you so much for listening. Again, next time we'll do Record Store Day, all the other fun stuff that we've been talking about. But for now, I am Josh.
And I'm Marikan.
And we want to say thank you for listening. And I'm going to say what I always say at the end of every video and everything I do. When the waters get rough, please keep on sailing. Please keep going. Even if you feel like no one else believes in you, I do, and I know my lovely co-host believes in you.
Of course.
We are here in your corner. There's always someone rooting for you, always wanting the best out of you. And don't be afraid to get the help that you need. And I hope that if you're listening to this, that you do get the help that you need if you need it. You are not alone. You are loved. And you always are going to be loved.
100%.